Welcome back to the Real Couchwives podcast where we overanalyze all things Bravo. And welcome back especially today because it's our 50th episode.
50 whole episodes that we have brought to you, and what better way to celebrate than talking about Southern charm? We have gotten to the end of the Jamaica episodes, and I have to say, Shep and Taylor are really not looking too good. They are seeming to be just kind of unraveling, both in their own ways. Like Shep is just like having explosion after explosion that is super random, sometimes even about like whether or not someone should change after the beach. And Taylor has now decided that she is sick of everyone being angry at her and she's the victim, and
So
we're gonna
fun.
unpack it. There's lots to get into here.
So much to get into. Oh my God, these two. It's hard to believe that they were the kumbaya couple at the beginning of the season after seeing what they are now like.
It's getting hard to watch. So we start this trip. Olivia and Taylor are already on like pretty shaky ground with their friendship. And then it only gets worse because the page 6 article comes out, which started all of it for us as viewers, right? Like, this is, I guess, when we, the public, find out that not Olivia, Taylor, I will never get their names right. Taylor and Austen have, hooked up.
Mhm.
And instead of kind of going to Olivia and trying to get in front of it, they decide that, they are now the victims in this because
Yeah.
no one else will let it go. And, apparently Taylor's being verbally abused when
Mhm.
she's being held accountable. It's just like an entire mess.
That's how it works, you know.
Yes, you can't just throw around the word verbal abuse. Like,
No, unfortunately. Yeah, and this whole like the way that they've just both decided to handle this, both Austen and Taylor, it's just so unfortunate. I think that for the longest time we kind of really couldn't understand why Olivia was as upset as she was after the season. And now as we just like get further and further and further into the season, we are like, oh no, yep, that keeps on happening, and then that happens, and now we totally get why Olivia feels the way that she does about Taylor, especially, unfortunately.
yeah, Taylor just makes like bad move after bad move. And like, I think what like you start to see here too is she just like won't hold herself accountable. Like, she doesn't
Mm-hmm.
understand the gravity of the situation. Olivia even says that, I think, on like their
Yeah.
first like horrible dinner. She's like, if you were to just tell me like I messed up and I did this, and if I were to feel from you that you were sorry and that also, this is the extent of what happened,
Mm-hmm.
we would be over it. But like at
Yeah.
this point, they've just waited so far that, and
Mm-hmm.
they've gone through this for so long that like their word is basically nothing. And now they're in this like endless, like I think I actually say it's a Ferris wheel, but like they are in this kind of cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they lied, right? So now their
Yeah.
word is kind of worth nothing. So
Yeah.
Olivia's not going to like believe them. And then because she won't believe them, they get more and more angry. And
Yeah.
then they say worse things. And then she gets more angry. And then, and then like they're all just like, I understand where that Ferris wheel kind of comes in, but it all
Mm-hmm.
stems from their lie. And I think that's what they
Yeah.
don't understand.
Yeah, and it's just so interesting for to like encounter kind of a Taylor week to week, you know, just not quite getting why Olivia's so upset with her, and like not quite understanding like how she's being received, right? Or how she's
Yeah.
being interpreted. And like even I don't want to get like too ahead of things, but even her having her conversation with her brother at the end of that like last trip, um she's talking about how like she's replaying the story of like what's been going down. I've apologized now 4 times, and she's like really harping on the fact that she's had to apologize so many times, and yet she doesn't really understand like why she needs to apologize, what she's really
Yeah.
done wrong. She thought like she even brought up at the dinner party that she like only lied once, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, I guess once you like really leaned into the lie, but from there, like also at the same time, like everybody thinks that you guys are still lying. So
Yeah.
just
That's well, what's really interesting about that actually is I was listening to Olivia on the Viall podcast, and
oh
she said a couple things that kind of like illuminated the way that I see this episode as well.
yeah.
The first one being, that they were really dating, her and Austen, and they said I love you, and it happened off camera, and they like, did Christmas at each other's houses. Like they were dating for 8 months, they were serious. It happened after the season. Like everyone keeps being like, oh, it was just a hookup, like they weren't dating, like why are you beating this dead horse? And it's like
Right.
they did have a relationship.
Yeah. Oh,
um
geez. That's even
and
more of a relationship than I thought too. So that's interesting.
right.
Yeah,
And I do
definitely.
kind of wish that they like bridged that for us a
Yeah.
little bit, because like I do understand the criticism as viewers. Like if you're just
Hmm.
going off of the show, like it does feel a little confusing because like we
Hmm.
didn't get to see any of that.
Oh.
um and I kind of wish they like said that in their confessionals maybe
Yeah, or
to
had
help
like
us.
if they'd like interstitched like photos of the two of them or something, like
Yeah,
from Christmas or something to make it seem like, okay, yes, they spent
yeah,
time together off the show that we didn't get to see.
exactly. And even like Olivia and Taylor, like they said that like their families had gotten together as well, right?
Hmm.
Like their friendship grew off the show as
Yeah.
well. So that was the first thing. But then the other thing that was really interesting too is like again, Olivia has said like she just feels like Taylor doesn't understand the gravity of what she's done, which we're seeing play out. But also she said like when she was watching it back, early on in the season when she saw that Taylor downplayed their relationship like in her confessional when
Yeah.
she was like, oh, like were they
Yeah.
even dating? And like
Yeah.
just those little jabs that Taylor puts in her confessional, when Olivia watched that, she's like, that's when our friendship really took a drastic change. So
Yeah.
it's also like what
Ooh.
she's seeing on the show that's making it worse.
Yeah. Oof, that makes the reunion like so juicy. I can't wait. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Damn, that's too bad.
Isn't that crazy though? Because it's
Yeah.
true. Like, but then I also do think we're seeing it play out here. Like, obviously, this trip is a
Yeah.
pivotal changing in their relationship, especially, when Taylor, whether she meant to or not, basically
Hmm.
brings up Olivia's brother.
Yeah.
I think the line was crossed there. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think you're coming back from that. Like, I think this
Yeah.
is like literally like the end, like RIP
Yeah.
of this relationship.
Well, that's just it, right? And like that's when Olivia gets up from the dinner table and she like leaves and Vanita follows after her, like the thing that Olivia is like crying in her hotel room about is the fact that Taylor brought that up and that she's
Yeah.
like making that kind of comment. And even the fact that JT had to like kind of like they like stitched in his confessional being like, I don't think that Taylor knew in the moment what she was saying. And like maybe that's him giving her the benefit of the doubt, but I think it just goes to show the gravity of like how the group was reacting in that moment of like, oh my God, what just happened? Like, why did you say that? Like, what is
J
going on?
JT needs to stop though. Like he needs to stop defending Taylor at every point. Like I think he even said to her during this trip, like, I'm always gonna defend you, like no matter what. Like except when she hooked up with Shep. That's when he was like, I'm out.
Like, I
But
don't
now he's
know.
like, I'm back
I'm back
in.
in. Oh, then maybe there's a chance.
Spit water in my mouth in Jamaica because I am back.
Oh my God. Even Scott, when he watches it, he's just like, dude, this guy is like so thirsty. Like, it's so pathetic. Like, what are you doing?
He's
Oh,
so thirsty.
he's
Like he just like, bro, he's not like she's not into you. And like the only
no.
reason she's even hanging out with you right now in Jamaica is because like you're her only friend who doesn't hate her at the
Yeah,
moment.
she doesn't have
Like
anybody else, unfortunately.
uh
JT.
her actions are just so strange. And
Yeah.
then like obviously it comes to a boiling point on like this last dinner where she essentially just kind of like decides she's really over this and she turns it back on Olivia, which was just like
Yeah.
shocking, where she's
Yeah.
like, I have never in my life been told by my friend that, they hate me. Like
Hmm.
that's such a strong word. Like
Yeah.
I want to, before she had said, like, I want a forgiving friend in my life. And if she's not that, then like maybe she shouldn't be in my life. And it's
Hmm.
like, are you seriously turning this back
I
on
know.
Olivia?
I know. And I have to admit, like, so obviously they do like the whole like cliffhanger, right, of this episode. So they have Taylor stand up at the dinner table. Everybody is now seated. She's like standing up. She's gonna like give a little speech. She's gonna do something. And obviously, all of us assume that she is finally going to tell the real story of like what actually happened. Clearly, when the episode restarts and the next episode plays, that is not what happened, and like it just goes down this like even worse and worse rabbit hole. But I
Yeah.
really had hope for like a moment there where that Taylor was going to do the right thing and that this was going to be like go in a good direction, and it's just no. And I guess that's what reality stars do, right? Like they have the opportunity to do the right thing and they like think that maybe they are doing the right thing in the moment, and then it just like completely misses. So
Yeah.
disappointing.
It is disappointing, and it's just like at this point, and I feel like her and Austen are like riling each other up too, because
Yeah.
Austen's also been like, I'm so sick of like doing the wrong thing at every
Yeah.
turn. And like one thing that really annoyed me about Austen too is at one point he's like, oh, you know, like one day Olivia is like sending me messages and we're like being fun together and we're
Mm-hmm.
friends, and then she's like, you know, when she's in front of people she puts on the show, you know, that she like
Right.
hates me and she's so hot and cold, and it's like, yeah, her brother just passed.
Yeah. And also, like, aren't you a little hot and cold dude?
Yeah.
Like, don't you like the chase? Like, isn't that what you're all about here? Like, you
That,
wouldn't be interested if she was like 100% interested in you and
that's so
100%
true.
here. Like, you're only mildly interested in her right now because she is being a little bit hot and cold. Like,
That's a good point. But also it's like he just says that scenario as if like, you
yeah.
know, the thing that's, you know, pretty prevalent here is like the reason
Yeah.
she's kind of become a little bit hot again is
Yeah.
because unfortunately they do have that shared bond of both
Yeah.
losing a sibling, and he was there for her in those moments and they trauma
Hmm.
bonded.
Yeah.
And I think then sometimes she gets moments of clarity when she's like, wait, what am I doing?
Yeah.
This guy screwed me over.
Yeah.
And like she of like is more like, it makes sense why she's hot and cold. And like Taylor also will bring up those moments too, like when they were in the bus after like one of the fights, like Taylor,
Hmm.
you know, mentions like, why is Olivia okay with Austen? Like, and she's like leaving her bra at his house. Like she will just like keep putting in these little, I used the wrong words, didn't I
No,
again?
no, you
No, I
used the
didn't.
right words.
Okay.
No, 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 sorry. I was remarking on the bra part.
I'm like, yeah,
Sorry.
so it's just like she will choose to just kind of like throw her under the bus to try to make
Hmm.
herself look better. And like what
Yeah.
I don't think she realizes again is like the whole not understanding the gravity is just like, that's not gonna help you right now. Like
Yeah. Well, that's just it. And that seems to be the problem with Taylor throughout this season is that she, instead of just kind of like taking responsibility, being like, you know what, I did a really shitty thing. I had a moment of weakness. I was interested in this guy. I was trying to lash out at Shep and get back at him and all of it by getting with all of his friends, you know, messaging Whitney, making out with Austen, who knows what else with anybody else. Um, and like if she kind of like could recognize that and own it and like acknowledge it and be like, you know, I'm in a really weird place right now, but the thing is she's in that really weird place right now, but then in addition to that, all the like weird decisions that she's making of like, let me like go after Olivia, let me like lie to her, let me like, you know, make weird comments to Vanita and Leva about how they're not really Olivia's friends, even though like
oh
I'm in this
yeah,
weird place with her too. Like she's just doing a lot of like little things like that as well, in addition to being in this weird place that is not helping her and not helping her case at all. And then in addition to that, the whole kind of like victimhood of like, oh, I've apologized so many times and I can't keep apologizing. There's nothing else for me to say. There's nothing else for me to do. I lied to you once and I've apologized for it 4 times.
yeah,
Yeah.
4 whole times.
4 times,
You're a
four
monster
apologies.
for not accepting these 4 apologies.
Dare you?
This is actually your fault.
This is your fault. This is your fault now, Olivia. You made me make out with Austen.
You use the word hate, and that is actually worse than
That's
all
so
of what
that
I've
is so much
done.
worse than making out with you. You're my ex-boyfriend. Oh,
Yeah,
Taylor.
it's getting hard to watch.
It is getting hard to watch. It's been rough.
It's been, yeah, it has in fact been rough. I am curious to see like how the reunion's gonna go, because like I
Yeah.
don't think it's gonna be anything different,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And it is just sad too, because like I think that's what Olivia keeps remarking on is like, and also when she said I hate you, she didn't just say I hate you, you're horrible, you're the
Hmm.
worst, the way that Taylor, you know, recounted the story. She
Yeah.
said you kind of like you did this to our friendship to the point where like I don't know if we can come back from, and I hate you for that,
Right.
because
Yeah.
this friendship is so important to me, and why
Yeah.
don't you understand that? Like why do you
Hmm.
keep making this about Austen?
Yeah.
That's very different.
Yeah.
Like
Well, and that's kind of what happens with like Taylor's retelling of these events is that she picks up like one tiny piece of something and then that's the only part that she remembers of it, right? Like I don't
yeah.
remember the fact that like you know, I yes I lied, but this is all the stuff that also happened around the lie. Like she just remembers the lie. She did like, you know,
Yeah.
she remembers the tiny apologies, but none of the like tiny mini comments that she made along with all the apologies as well that go around with the whole
That's
story, and it's like the self-awareness is lacking.
Yes, that's a really good point. Isn't that also the like the same type of realization we had about Rachel slash Raquel on VPR. I
Ooh,
think you've said the same thing about her in our past
potentially,
episodes.
potentially, yes, because that feels very similar to her kind of like story, like version of events. When it came to like Ariana or anything that was happening in the whole Scandival
Yeah.
world. Yeah.
And I also think you just pick up on like Olivia, she just seems very self-aware. She seems very
Mm-hmm.
mature in the way that she
Yeah.
handles these. Like, yes, she will get in some cutting remarks, but she says them very eloquently. They're very like they're fully realized, like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very stark comparison to, I feel
Yeah.
like, the way that Taylor kind of responds to it, which does
Mm-hmm.
seem a little bit more lacking in like maybe like a maturity or, you know, some sort of self-awareness, like you were saying. Like they definitely don't seem like they're on the same playing field in this kind of thing.
Which is kind of like, it feels like that's such a big problem that as you kind of like already alluded to, like I don't know how we come back next season with this group of people and Taylor, kind of, right? Like I just think that like because we've seen kind of Vanita and Madison kind of like come around Olivia so much and kind of like form this like, shield around her. I don't see how Taylor kind of like fits into the mold for next season.
Yeah. I don't, yeah, it's a good point. I wonder if she even would come back for next season because actually this trip was the first time that I was like, Vanita's finally like in the fold of the
Yeah,
friendship, and
I
it was really
know.
nice. Like
I
I actually
know.
really enjoyed watching Madison and Vanita this trip. I thought that they
Yeah.
were really fun. They
Well, they
moved the
stirred the
plot
pot. They
along.
moved. They poked that bear.
Yeah, but then they were still there for Olivia when they needed to be. And like
Hmm.
I just like I think they brought a lot of fun. Same with
Yeah,
Craig. Craig
I
was
know.
killing it this
Craig is like the MVP of the season, quite frankly. He's doing
he
such a good job.
he really, really is. And like he's just like you could just see the growth from him, which is like
Hmm.
really wild.
No, we love to see
Um
it.
and like this trip looked so fun. Like he
It
planned
did.
such a good trip.
Yeah, it makes me want to go to Jamaica.
Is that the blue
That's where
hole
that's where we
or
are. I think so. Yeah, and look at the waterfall. Like looks beautiful. Who wouldn't want to
you
go here?
You know who else I don't think will be coming back is Rod, because I think
Mm.
he was really just hoping to ride this relationship with Olivia into the sunset. And
I
without
know.
it, at first I was like making some excuses for him, but like after the way that he like cornered Olivia to, you know,
Yeah.
become exclusive in like a really horrible time. And
Yeah.
also this trip, like when him and JT start yelling at Austen, like you
Mm.
have no like what are you doing? Like you are not
Yeah.
involved in this. Like you obviously
No.
just hate the dude because like the girls that you like him and
Yeah.
like
Well, that's just it. And like if you had to choose between like JT and Rod in terms of like what storyline they're bringing to the show, like unfortunately JT, while we kind of like find him annoying, I think he is bringing a little bit more of the drama. He's asking the questions, he's doing the work. Though I do think that Rod brought up, I can't exactly remember what Rod's point was. I think he like at the end of the last dinner, he talked about how like what Taylor was trying to achieve by standing up and like wanting to put it to bed and having this squashed and whatever.
mhm.
Like I think he could see what she was trying to do in that moment and how she had like not delivered it properly. So I thought that that was nice, but yeah,
Yeah.
overall, like, have we kind of gotten enough of a storyline from him? Like, probably not really. Like, we don't even know what he does, right? Like, I don't know anything.
He's
At least I know JT has Airbnbs
yeah.
and like an event
And
space in Charleston.
his mummy snacks.
Oh no, he's got diabetes.
Oh, it's true.
Like
It's
we know
true.
so much about JT. Then he's thirsty, and then he's divorced.
Oh, it's true. And there's been some episodes where I was like, "Aw."
I
Like
know.
he's slowly like he's
Worming his way in.
yeah, I think
The
so.
worm is worming.
The worm is worming. Yeah,
Amazing.
but I digress.
Yeah.
And then the other really big thing that happened on this trip is just Shep.
Oh,
I'm sorry, we have to call it.
yeah.
Shep is becoming Thomas Ravenel
Yeah.
Jr.
Like
It's happened.
the time is like December 22nd, like 2023 at
His
6:51 p.m. my time.
yeah,
And Shep
what
has officially become Thomas
yeah,
Ravenel.
it's the transformation is complete,
Uh,
and there has been no truer moment in which we can see that this has happened than the
Mm-hmm.
really ridiculous fight that he gets in with
Mm,
Austen.
yeah.
Actually, no, there's
In
one
Whitney's
even
hotel
before
room.
that. Yeah, but
Oh,
there's one before that. So,
okay.
okay, let's take it in chronological order of the
Yes.
Jamaica trip.
Yes.
The first one actually happens when randomly he starts yelling at Craig
Yeah.
that apparently the only reason that Craig doesn't get in trouble for indiscretions in his relationship is because he has a long distance relationship, also insinuating said relationship is not even real,
Yeah.
and then also that Paige might be cheating on him.
Yeah. Which like is weird that both him and Taylor brought that up this season. Like so unrelatedly. Like where did that rumor come from? Like I haven't even seen anything online about that. So I don't know. It's
No,
random.
they did say, like, Craig said he knows that that was a rumor that's there, but like I don't think
Right.
anyone gives it any credibility. And like
Okay.
Taylor had also like apologized about it. But yeah, like if there was any
It
credibility
yeah.
to it, like it would have spread online,
Right.
like
Yeah.
more so than just like in the Charleston circle.
Which is clearly where it is circulating because it's not anywhere else.
Yeah.
Like if we
It's
if anybody else is permanently online, like they would know like this is not a thing that anybody
well,
has
that's
heard of.
it. And
And
he
they're
just like he
also
just
sorry,
oh
go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead.
No, well, I was gonna say they're also filming like 3 full-time reality TV shows. Like there's never any time. Like when would they
It's
have the
true.
time? Like
Yeah. And as Paige has said, like she's always in bed. So when would she have
exactly,
time to
it's
cheat?
impossible.
But yeah, like his blow up at him was just like so random. It had literally
Yeah.
nothing to do with him. I think it was when Craig was just trying to like make peace almost,
Yes.
or
Basically, yeah.
like,
Between the group, yeah,
and he just kind of went off on him.
yeah.
And it's like, dude, just because they're long distance doesn't mean that he's getting off scot-free. He's getting off scot-free because he's not cheating on his girlfriend and
Yeah,
because he's being a good
he's
boyfriend.
changing his behavior, right? Like he's drinking less. Like in general, he's also just seems to be like a little bit more mature. He's ready to like move on to the next step. He's thinking about marriage. Like he's evolving. He's changing, and we love to
Yeah.
see it.
Well, that's
And
it.
Shep is
And we've
just
also,
yeah,
yeah, Shep is just Shep.
I don't know, jealous. Like I don't know what he is, but he's something.
100%. Jab's
Yeah,
always been jealous of
yeah,
Craig and Austen. But
yeah.
like also like we've seen Craig get dragged through the mud. Like we've seen Craig act questionably. Like it's not
We've
like
dragged him
Craig
through the mud.
we've dragged
Like
him.
everybody's
like
dragged Craig through the mud at
like
one point.
it's and like Craig used to be their punching like bag, and I
Yes,
think he's just
yeah.
mad that he no longer
He
can
no
be.
longer
And
gets
it's
to
like
do that.
you can't make that claim like, oh, like Craig always gets away scot-free. Like he
Mhm.
hasn't. Like he has paid his dues
No, totally.
like
Like,
on this show. He has been
yeah,
dragged, like, you know,
yeah,
and for reason, like when
totally.
certain things have happened. But it's just
Yeah,
like,
when he was
dude, like
lying,
you're,
back in the day.
yeah, like you're grasping at straws here.
No, he really is, and that's just it, and that's why it's also kind of like the whole Thomas Ravenel effect too, right? Like, is because Shep is like yelling at Craig for like no reason, right? Like it's like you're just choosing a thing to be mad about. You're probably not even going to be mad about it the next day. You might not even remember about what you were
Well,
mad about like the next day. Like,
that night they like hug and they're like
yeah,
totally fine, and it's like
yeah.
not brought up
Like,
again.
oh,
And it's
okay.
like, what the hell?
I'm just drunk and belligerent, and I was yelling at you for no reason, and now we're friends again. All good. My
Yeah,
bad.
just normal chef things.
Just kind of
And it
normal
just like,
stuff.
and it's just like I hate that I keep saying it, I'm sorry, but like it's a flip that switches. And like it's
Hmm.
that's the thing with Thomas at his
Yeah,
dinner
it
parties,
is.
like he
Yeah.
just like goes off the rails like when they feel attacked in any way.
Hmm.
And that's what we're starting to see in Shep. And then yeah, the second one is with Austen and Whitney's hotel
Yes.
room where they're talking about whether or not they should change for the beach. Austen is like, I'm not gonna change. And then Shep is like, I wish you'd change, but you don't know how. And then and then Austen's basically like, no, you. And then and
Yeah,
yeah, it's just kind of
which is also like a weird like obviously it was like a weird little slight at Austen that Shep was saying there. And yes, I think to a degree we could all acknowledge that Austen probably has some things that he like should work on, but we also know from this season that he is working on those things
mhm.
actively. He's actually going to see a therapist. He has like somebody that he's like opening up to. He's even opening up to us, the audience, and like bringing us along for this experience, which, we as Bravo viewers have seen many a therapy session, and it's hard to know like how legitimate they are, but I do get the sense that this is like one of the more kind of like beneficial of therapy sessions that we viewed. Like I think this one, and then probably like the one with Bethany and Roni, were probably the ones
Yeah.
that I feel like have been the most accurate feeling, or kind of like legitimate, like they're actually like bringing somebody in, and it's not just like somebody that they're going to go see that like one time and then they're going to be like, oh great, it's not there, but there you go, did it.
Yeah. That's it. Like he does really seem to be wanting to change and like trying to change
Yeah,
in some way.
yeah,
Um it's just such a strange fight. And then Shep just like he always goes for the jugular. He's like, like I have so like I think the conversation goes, I wish you'd change. And then Austen's like, you can't change, it's a problem for you. And then Shep's like, I have a lot of friends, I don't need you. These guys have been friends
right.
forever. Like that's like and he said that multiple times to Austen. Basically, I don't
Yeah,
need you as a friend. And for some
yeah,
reason they keep coming back from that.
yeah.
Um
But
and
it's
then
also
yeah.
like it's also just weird because like don't you need him? Like don't like I don't understand. Like a like you guys are going to be on this show like forever, however long you're going to be able to like continue to get a paycheck from Bravo, so you do kind
Yeah.
of like need him a little bit, but also just like I don't know, like it's just the weird things that Shep says and the way that he kind of like just discards people from his life. I'm sorry, Frankie is
It's
barking in the
okay.
background.
Frankie is upset at
Frankie
Shep.
is very upset at Shep. She's not a fan.
I understand. Yeah, it's just like the whole thing is so crazy. He brings up page 6, like, oh, you're on page 6 not looking so good. Um Someone said you look okay, and then at one point Shep's like, oh, why? Because I'm nice. And it's like, what do you mean you're not? It was just like I like it just like went so crazy. And then
Yeah,
Austen gets a jab at Madison, who's basically like, well,
right.
shut up, you're a bored housewife.
Yeah,
Ooh, he did not
come
want. And
on.
Austen and Madison were doing so good. I
I
actually really liked
know.
their scenes together.
I know, and I actually I find it fun the way that they kind of like riff off of one another and the kind of banter that they get to like engage in. I think it's great. I
Yeah.
think that it's fun that she reads them just as much, and then they kind of like get back at her. It's all
Honestly, Madison's really been growing on me this season, I have to
right.
say.
That's fair. I can understand that.
I've except for when she like was like screaming at Olivia, no, Taylor,
Taylor
about like the
at the
nudes
beginning.
at
Yeah,
that
that
table.
was weird because that just felt like it was an unnecessary thing for Madison to kind of be mad at Taylor for.
Yeah, but I have
But
liked her on this trip, and like yeah,
yeah,
like Austen and her are so much better when they're like having this type of banter than
yes.
when they like hate each other. Like that's not fun to
Oh, a
watch. Like
million percent.
we've seen those, those seasons where it was not great.
Yeah.
Um But yeah, it's just I don't know. And then also Olivia really calls out Shep on this behavior too.
Yeah.
Basically when like Shep was trying to squash everything, when Olivia and Taylor were kind of fighting, and he's like, "Oh, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine." And then and then she's basically like, "Oh, maybe you want to get over it until like, a few minutes later when you're gonna
Yes.
like have an outburst about it." Like
Yeah,
what
exactly. Well, that's just
like
it, because he's like trying, like, to his credit, I guess, I don't know. He does seem to kind of like think that he can be a little bit of like a Taylor whisperer and kind of like help step in. And we even saw that at the first dinner where he was like
hmm
trying to kind of like coach her along and be like, this is what you need to do. This is, how you should apologize. This is how you do it, like whatever.
Yeah.
And then in this second dinner, he kind of like interjects and he's like, don't you want to squash this? Like, don't we want to be done with all
Yeah.
of this? And Olivia's like, well, maybe I don't want to be done with all of this, right? Like maybe like we just keep on kind of like having the same conversation and nothing is getting resolved, and I don't want to just like move past it because like I don't have to, right? Like and this to a certain extent, right? Like it's all relatively fresh. It is like, she thinks that there is something more as well to what happened there, and she doesn't want to just brush it under the rug because, and it's also, and then as she says, like the whole brushing under the rug thing is not working very well for Shep, so why would it
Yeah.
work that well for her, right?
Well,
Like
that's just it. Like clearly Shep has and it's we've talked about this for so long because like he obviously has these underlying feelings about the guys, and like it
mm-hmm.
all and anytime they get into a fight, like this comes up. Like anytime there is a fight, like Shep hates Austen, like
Yeah,
Shep
yeah,
hates Craig.
yeah,
Like
exactly. Like I lost ping pong to JT Austen, that's your fault, I'm mad at
yeah.
you now.
Yeah. Like obviously Shep has some stuff that maybe he should think
Yeah,
about for longer. Like not
maybe
showing
he
like
should think about why he's upset by this and what's going on and just process his feelings and form some boundaries. Hey, there's some things that could happen there.
I really would not have thought that Craig was the one out of this group who was
Yeah,
gonna have shown the most growth, but
I know.
like there it is.
I also love that Craig like called it from the beginning. Like as soon as Craig found out
Yeah,
about this, he's like, this guy.
it's so
This is
true.
the ticking time bomb to
Yeah,
watch.
yeah,
And
it's
now
so
here we
true.
are in Jamaica watching him explode like at least 3 times.
Yeah, and the boys, and like he does, like he'll hold Austen accountable too. Like he'll tell
Hmm.
Austen that what
Oh
he did
yeah.
sucked. Like the boys, they're less of the boys club that you see on like
Yeah.
Vanderpump Rules, and like they didn't
Yes.
always used to
Yes.
be, but at least now I think that like
Yeah.
they can
Well,
call
that's
each other out a little bit
yeah.
more.
That is at least the nice thing is yes, they have always operated with a pretty big boys club on this show, but at the same time, like from day one, the boys were fighting. The
The
boys,
boys were
they were fighting.
fighting.
And while they tend to resolve their issues quite quickly, they've always been the fighters. They've often had more drama than the girls on the
Totally,
show.
always,
So
always.
yeah. We'll love
But
to
yeah,
see it.
what
Yeah.
a wild time. Like I really
Totally.
enjoyed these Jamaica episodes.
Yeah.
Is this the first time the Southern Charm has gone anywhere fun? Like I feel like they or no, okay, I don't want to say fun, but like
No,
gone
tropical.
like yeah, like this is a departure for them.
I think so a little bit. Like I'm trying to remember the other places that they went, and even like I know that they went somewhere with Landon, but like I can't. I still feel like it was like continental United States. Like I feel like it was like Key West or something,
Yes. Well, I
or
think they said that
Keys.
on Reality Bites that like they always kind of tried to give it the Charleston feel. So like
Right.
anywhere they
So
went,
if
it's
you
like,
go,
okay, like now we're at
it's
like Shep's cottage.
yeah, and we're like in the mountains, or here we. Well, they went to Colorado once, but
That's true.
that wasn't tropical. That was
Yeah. And like still
yeah,
beautiful, but just like
yeah,
this was very different for them to have like
yeah.
a beach vacation in this way.
Like maybe they went to the Bahamas or Bermuda or something. But even then, maybe they just like they went there independently, and then the show just didn't like it wasn't. It was just something that they did on the side. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
T
TBD.
unsure. Don't
Yeah,
don't fact check, or
they
maybe
don't
fact check
travel the
that.
way that the Beverly Hills ladies do.
No, that's for sure.
Yeah,
But
no
yeah,
doubt.
this season has been crazy. It is like beyond a redemption season. I am like so back in. I'm trying to get everyone to start watching Southern Charm. We started watching it
Yes,
from the beginning again because like it's just
it's so
incredible.
good. How could you not?
How could you not? There's so much content out right now that I'm honestly like it's hard to even keep up with it.
Yeah.
Let us know, what you're watching, what you're thinking, how are you liking Southern Charm? And of course, happy holidays, guys. Sorry this episode was a little bit all over the place. We're both traveling, we've been sick. It's just like it's been crazy, but we really wanted to sit down and talk about this.
Yeah.